Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise here on Nile TV International, coming to you away from the banks of the Nile River here in Giza. We'll be talking in this segment about International Museum Day, which was observed on the 18th of May. And this is with the aim to raise awareness among people about museums. Museums, of course, are an important means of cultural exchange and the development of mutual understanding, cooperation, and peace among people. Museums embody history, really. They tell you a lot about history, and this is International Museum Day, celebrated every year since the year 1977. And with us here in the program is Alaa Bakir, archaeologist at the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, to talk to us about that great event. Thank you very much, Alaa, for joining us.
Many thanks for the invitation. I have the pleasure and great honor to be with you today in celebrating such a distinctive occasion, the International Museum Day.
Of course, we have the pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise, and of course, on this very distinctive and special day, which is the International Museum Day, which we celebrate or was observed on May 18th. Could you tell us more about the day, the event, how they chose it, the reason, the importance, how they were inspired by this?
Of course. Actually, all over the world, more and more museums participate in celebrating such an important occasion. As actually, it's very important to merge professionals in the museum field and also emphasize on the importance of museums in the community and its important role in that case. Actually, that day was determined by the International Council of Museums, ICOM, just like you have said, my sir, since 1977, to emphasize and to raise the awareness about the fact that museums are important means of cultural exchange, enrichment of cultures, and development of mutual understanding, cooperation, and peace among peoples. Actually, every year there is a specific or particular theme for this event. This year we have a very particular theme, which is the future of museums, recover and reimagine.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that is related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's the recover part. Yeah.
Yes, that all the world facing now. And actually, there's a lot of challenges that we have faced in museums field according to this pandemic. Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, especially museum sector, have made a plan for overcoming this pandemic to involve the public with us even remotely or virtually, not only
And how can you do that virtually?
yes.
Virtually, how can you do it? I mean,
Okay. Actually, from the beginning of this crisis, about a year ago, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities made, for an instance, a promotional videos for the objects in museums related to the story about these objects, and published it on the internet under the hashtag Experience Egypt from Home. These promotional videos have a great positive impact, as actually people all over the world were so much interested to visit Egypt after this crisis, or now, even now. And also there are a lot of narrative videos also, virtual tours, 3D virtual tours also for different museums. Also conducting webinars for the events for the different activities. Also conducting art workshops from home. to engage public with the museum.
Great. And Alaa, of course, this day was celebrated in Egypt in a special way. Um, we understand that there were two new museums inaugurated at the Cairo International Airport at different terminals and
Yes.
other events. So please talk to us about, Egypt's celebration of International Museum Day.
Yes, actually, the International Cairo Museum Airport, both in Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, were considered as Egypt's gift to the whole world in such a distinctive occasion, the International Museum Day. The most distinctive in both museums that they are narrating the history of Egypt, highlight masterpieces from every era and every period of Egypt's long history to give a quick story or a quick inclusion about the history of this great civilization to the passengers when they are waiting for their planes or something like that. Terminal 2, for instance, focus on about 5 themes. One of them is Egypt is the land of religions. We have Coptic, Islamic, and even
Jews.
Jews, Jewish,
Judaism, right.
yes,
Yes. Prophet
antiquities.
Moses was here. Prophet
Yes.
Jesus was here.
Yes, of
And
course.
yeah.
Of course, the ancient Egyptian times, we have a lot of distinctive pieces from that period, and also the sculpture of Greco-Roman period. Also, the Islamic and the Coptic art are characteristics of both these arts.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So that's one of the 5. You said 5 themes.
Yes.
One of them is the religious theme.
Yes.
So we would like to know more themes.
Of course, among the new museums in Egypt are Sharm el-Sheikh National Museum, you didn't mention yet, Mohammed.
Yes, Rana, that's correct.
And Sinai, Kafr al-Sheikh Museum in the Nile Delta,
Mhm.
and the Royal Carriages Museum in Cairo. All 3 recently opened to public and are home to artifacts, mummies, statues, clay, and granite tablets. Why was there a need to open all these new museums at this point?
Well, actually, Egypt, I believe that Egypt handled the crisis or the time of
Coronavirus crisis.
Yes, coronavirus crisis or pandemic with 4 main axes. One of those axes is the development or integration of new museums, and actually Egypt have made a score in that matter where 3 museums, for an instance, were opened in the same day, which are Sharm el-Sheikh Museum, Kafr al-Sheikh Museum, and Royal Carriages Museum. Of course, Sharm el-Sheikh is considered as a very important tourist destination.
Yeah.
Especially
So-
with the reopening of international tourism, bit by bit.
Yes.
The Russian airplanes.
Yes,
The
of
And
course.
direct
it's worth to
flights are
mention
back,
that
yeah.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is very keen on
Sure.
on holding any important event.
Many of
at
these events
Sharm
are held
el-Sheikh.
under the auspices of the
So,
president.
yes,
Yeah?
Yes, of
and
course.
events are under his auspices and are held at Sharm el-Sheikh, which
Yes.
gives it with museums. Of course,
Yes.
it enriches the idea of the whole event.
Sure,
altogether.
absolutely.
Yes, of course. It was very important to make a museum in such a very
Of course,
important
yes,
destination, and actually the themes of display in this museum is focusing also in Sinai, antiquities, also the relation between the Egyptian and the environment and animals, something like that. So it was very important to have a museum in this destination. Was very to have a museum in it because actually After the opening, we have a great revenues and a lot of
Wonderful.
visitors to that museum specifically. Of course, local visitors, not international, but it was very
You mean
important.
national citizens?
Yes,
Not
yes,
not international.
yes.
Sharm el-Sheikh at this point does not have many
No, have of
international
course, have of
tourists,
course, yeah, have of course. Tourists not,
but they're not as much.
oh, not as
Due
much.
to,
They'll
of
be
course, due to
they'll
the
be back
corona
they'll be
pandemic.
back in force, Rana, and you know,
Yeah.
of course, the Russian direct flights are back.
Yes.
The President
Yes.
Sisi and President Putin had agreed on that
Yes.
recently, and this is going to happen, anytime soon.
Okay.
Yes, of course,
So
we can't overlook the NEMIC, National Egyptian Museum of Civilization,
of course, the Namek is
and
a wonderful thing.
the execution of Pharaoh's Golden Parade, which was very
It was.
distinctive and
yeah, it was a
dazzled the
great
whole,
day. It was a
yes,
great day.
dazzled the
It
whole
was a
world.
historical day, actually.
Yes, and we have a lot of museums to be opened in the coming period. Just like the Egypt's capital in the new administrative capital,
Yeah.
yes, which is considered as a diamond in the list of museums in Egypt.
And of course, the Grand Museum.
yes, of course,
GAM. GEM.
well,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
the whole world awaits this
Of course.
important and the huge project.
Ala, the museum, of course, in Naama Bay, which is in, of course, Sharm el-Sheikh, which is the museum consists of 5,200 artifacts from prehistoric times onwards, covering the entire span of Egyptian civilization. Tell us more about this, and how was it easy to facilitate all these artifacts and take them all the way to Sharm el-Sheikh?
Well, actually, workers in the museum sector didn't hesitate to do their best, to do all what they can to overcome these challenges, to overcome this hard period under the COVID-19 pandemic. They insist to make their best to make more achievements and openings for museums to attract people all over the world and tourists after the end of this pandemic to come to Egypt. And actually, there's a great and positive impact for that. We have faced a lot of challenges to make that, but we insisted to do to transfer artifacts from Egypt, from different museums to that far place is very hard, of course, in this hard period, but we insist to overcome it, and we have successfully made it. And hopefully the museum now, after its opening, make a lot of events to engage public and to engage tourists. Every day we have a new event, a new activity, new engaging with public. So
And part of the public, part of the very important sector, I guess, Rana, of the public are the students, I guess.
yes.
The youngsters. We want we want them to know more about their rich history, their rich heritage, Egypt's rich traditions and civilization. Alaa, you were mentioning. We mentioned together with Rana and myself. You mentioned with us the new museums. There was also great effort as far as renovating museums,
Yes, of course.
the restoration of old museums, and other places like, for instance, Le Baron Palace.
Yeah.
So talk to us about these renovations, and how did the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities exploit the COVID-19 time frame, if you will, by working in many renovations.
Yes, actually, one of the four axes that I have told you about that Egypt handled this pandemic or crisis was the development of the opened museums and upgrading its infrastructure. Actually, a lot of works done in that case. just like rehabilitating museums to receive people with disabilities, special needs, equipping bathrooms, making braille labels, explanatory panels, also with braille, also making the documentaries and conducting it with sign language. This is a very important segment of the community. So it was very
Absolutely,
important,
sure.
to improve or equipping the open museums for them. Also, from the positive impacts and as a result of the great efforts of our colleagues working in the Egyptian Museum during that crisis, the Egyptian Museum in Al Tahrir. Have actually added to the tentative UNESCO list for a heritage to be added as a heritage site soon, inshallah.
Great.
Yes, so that's from the project of developing the Egyptian Museum and a lot of other museums. We have now Kom Oshim Museum, Aswan Museum, the private museum in Al Manial Palace, and the Rokn Hilwain Museum. All of these museums are undertaking the development and in
In the upcoming phase
yes,
or period, we'll see their inauguration, their full restoration.
yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Alaa, the Royal Carriages Museum is located in Cairo, and the museum displays a collection of royal carriages, accessories, and horse guard uniforms across its many halls. In this, the first museum of, and this is the first museum of its kind in Egypt. Tell us more about. I was there, and we made a very special
Yeah.
episode, an exclusive episode of Nile Cruise. I think
Yeah.
you were there, Anna.
Yeah.
I was not. I wish I was
No,
there.
you
I
were. You
wanted to
were.
visit the museum, by the way.
Actually,
Yeah.
Dina Mamdouh was
Yes.
my partner there, but
Yes.
you were there that day when we went over there.
No, not that day, but I was a few days
You
ago.
were a few days there. Okay, tell us,
I was there making a virtual tour for ICOM in the Emirates. In the
okay, it's
Emirates.
the first museum of its kind in
Yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah,
Tell
of
us
course.
more about it, especially that it gives and inspires, and it tells us all about the different carriages of the different, of course, kings and queens that used to live here in Egypt, or we witnessed in Egypt. And it's a story actually, and the carriages are there, and everything is over there.
Yeah.
The military uniforms, everything is over there. Tell us more.
Yeah. Actually, the Royal Carriages Museum is very unique also all over the world, because this kind of
Not
museums
only
is
in Egypt, but all over
Yeah.
the world.
yeah, because this kind of museums is very rare and very few, only in Russia, England, and France. That kind of museums are found there. Actually, it includes a lot of distinctive royal carriages. Each carriage is considered a story in its in its
On its own.
yeah. Yeah, every carriage, each carriage have its d- have its different accessories, have its different workers for it. The most distinctive one is called the Kalash Khususi, which was used in the inauguration of the Suez Canal in 1869. And also there's a very distinctive carriage, which is the private Alaa, which was used in the marriage of King Farouk and in the inauguration of the parliament. A lot of accessories, a lot of orders, jewelry for this royal family in Egypt in the 19th and 20th centuries. So I think it's considered as a great diamond in the middle of Cairo. and I invite the audiences to visit that distinctive museum.
You've just given us a virtual tour, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've made it very interesting, and I mean, it's a place worth visiting. It's a place that everybody must be to. Thank you very much, Alaa Bakir.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Alaa
Merci.
Bakir, thank you so very much for joining us in today's episode of Nile Cruise. Dear viewers,
Many
this was
thanks.
this very interesting segment of Nile Cruise. Stay with us, we still have more, and we'll be right back, me and Mohammed Abdurrahim.